You're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast with D-Cal.
And good Monday afternoon to everybody out there who's listening. It's your boy D-Cal, hosting the E.I.T.H.R podcast here out of the GNS studio in Sacramento, California. Happy to be here. Hope everyone had an awesome weekend. I just want to give a shout out to a few of the sponsors that are supporting the podcast that we got. Mile Clothing Line. If you guys ever check it out yet, Mile, Make It Look Easy, is clothing line associated with the GNS Inc. company. Great brand. Go to mile.today. mile.today. And get your Mile gear. Be part of the Mile Daily Club. Make it look easy. Want to give a shout out also to Candace Romero. Hey, boo. Over there at my.doterra.com/Romero. She got some great stuff over there that can probably take a lot of your stressful antics and demonic spirits out of your existence, as they like to speak so eloquently in the hood out there in the East Bay area. And then shout out to my boy Rodney Farrell, Mr. Rodney Farrell, at Farrell Development Group. They're doing some big things out of the Sacramento, Los Angeles area. So, be on the lookout for that. But if anyone is interested in becoming a sponsor for the podcast of the E.I.T.H.R, just go ahead and follow us on social media at Twitter or Instagram. It's the same handle as at the E.I.T.H.R, at THEEITHR. Just go ahead and shoot us a DM and let us know what your business is, where you're located, what's the mission. And we'll definitely go ahead and see if we can start rocking with you guys on that. So go ahead and give us a follow, give us a shout out, and we'll kind of go from there, see what we can make happen. Today is the very first day of the scheduled slots that we have for the podcast. The first few episodes were kind of sporadic. Whenever I can get to it is when I can get to it. But a saying that I love to say, sometimes it's hard for me to remember, is frustration is lack of preparation. And God, that is so true. Frustration is lack of preparation. So being that you can kind of do whatever it is that you want to do, sometimes that's also the curse to the gift. So we're trying to add a little structure to it. So Mondays and Fridays, as of right now, Mondays and Fridays, 2 days a week. We're going to do this at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, which is obviously going to be 6:30 Eastern. I figured around this time of the day, it's better because people either getting off work or they're starting to wind down from work, depending on your time zone, of course. And I figured, my soothing voice is exactly what the fuck y'all need to go ahead and decompress from your day. So that's what we're going to do. Anyone has any objections to it, keep it to yourself. Anybody who has any support, you go ahead and hit us on the social media, and we would love to read that part right there. So if you guys happen to miss any of the episodes, and for whatever reason you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you can go ahead and hit the YouTube page for the GNS Inc. So if you can go ahead and follow us on YouTube, the GNS Inc., that's the parent company for the podcast. And we upload the videos there on YouTube, so that we can go ahead and follow that. So what I attempt to do with each episode is start each one with some type of positive, encouraging suggestion for people to do throughout the day. With all the negativity that's going on in our faces, television, radio, social media, so on and so forth, whether it's something that the algorithm puts in our face because they figure that's what we want to see, or if it's something that we're just drawn to subconsciously, and that's the road we pick. I try to do something a little bit that's more encouraging. So whenever you're feeling overwhelmed at your job or whatever it is you do, if you're a stay-at-home parent with your significant other, one thing that kind of works for me is find whatever advice that you like to do that kind of helps decompress. Give yourself, man, 5 to 15 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes of just you. I don't care if it's sitting there in, crisscross applesauce and you're kind of zenning out, listen to some ocean waves crashing while you kind of compose yourself, or if you just need time to breathe, whatever it is. I feel that, that 5 to 15 minutes that you give yourself is extremely crucial to whoever or whatever it is that you have in front of you, because you could allow emotions to get the best of you, and not what you say, but how you say it can definitely come off the wrong way to whoever it is that you're directing it at. And the last thing you need to do is additional confrontation to add on to whatever it is you got going on in your life. So, like I said, 5 to 15 minutes if possible. I mean, you don't have to put a counter on it, but, at least try to give yourself that quarter of an hour to, just zone out, man. It's important. If anyone who saw on the Facebook this past week, I did Facebook Live. A friend of mine gave me a suggestion to do 3 Facebook Lives to kind of just interact with the world, and I did 2 of them. So the first one was to promote the Mind Clothing line. You guys may have seen that. If not, you're more than welcome to go to facebook.com/Mile Today /MILE2DAY, and you can see it right there. And it kind of talks about my partnership I did with DoorDash, because I do DoorDash full time, and there's a location that you'll see in the video. And I made the phone call to them. It took me some months to get a hold of somebody because I had to find the number. But, it's out in San Francisco. And got a hold of them and said, look, man, this is what I'm trying to do. They even have a window open for me to possibly sell merchandise through them. So that is an option that I'm keeping open. But as of right now, they're at least helping me expand my promotional team for G&S Promotions, which is another branch of the company that I'm going to get to in a little bit later down the line, but to help spread the word of the clone line in the podcast. They're allowing me to utilize their people to help distribute what orders that go out. In that particular location, they have anywhere between 800 to 1,200 orders a day. So I'm kind of blessed that I was able to make that happen. So that was the very first video. The second video was speaking on the G&S Entertainment, which for the company is the music, movie, media aspect. So if you will, the E.I.T.H.R podcast will be considered part of the G&S Entertainment umbrella, like leg of the business. But what you hear in the background is music that I've created, music that quote unquote I produce. Listen, I'm not a music producer, so I don't even want to go around with that title, but I will say I'm a beat maker. I guess that's arguable, whichever way you want to title it. But the point of the music is to do stuff like this, is to have for background music, so that way it kind of helps de-escalate, or it helps what's the word I'm looking for? It lowers any type of stress or confrontation, or probably de-escalates any animosity or any tension that you may hear during the podcast. Because there might be topics that I bring up, there might be points that I bring out that might get a person upset, and the music tends to kind of keep you soothed if you will. And like I said in the video, to promote the Genus Entertainment, the music also is meant for what I call web scoring. So web scoring music that you would have in the background on your web page. Now, we do not load it up. And so if you have a developer who's good at that, she or he can do that for you on their own. That's a separate service. But if you don't, I do have a person as well who, depending on how your back end is set up, they could upload it to your website. But the whole idea is to keep people on your page. Because like I said, when you go into department stores and they play music, the music is to set a vibe. The vibe is to help you picture yourself or envision yourself wearing whatever outfit or whatever it is that you're coming to pick up. This does the same thing for your consumer. It does the same thing. It allows them to use the music to set the mood of whatever product or service that you're offering. It helps paint that picture a little bit more clearer for them. So, again, that's what you hear in the background. All this is done by me. A lot of the music is I try to get something for every single person out there, whether it's for meditation, whether it's for working out, whether it's for just cleaning the house, whether it's for something that you might want to, put some words to it. Who knows? Like an open mic or a speakeasy, whatever it is. So, that's a project in addition. So if you've been listening to the podcast since the beginning, you've always heard something in the background. That's the purpose of it. So I hope that's not annoying anybody, and I hope everyone does appreciate it. So wanted to talk about that. I want to do a third video probably either tomorrow or day after, to fulfill my 3 live videos that I gave my words that I would do. I've always been very hesitant. I've never really been a camera person. I'd rather be more behind the scene, but it is a different experience to be in front of the camera. I no longer hate it, but I do am breaking out of the shell and getting used to it and trying something different to get out of my comfort zone. Want to give a shout out to a sponsor real quick, and then we're going to come back with some more ish.
Yo, what up, folks? This is Rodney Farrell, the CEO of Farrell Development Group, and you're listening to the E.I.T.H.R podcast, hosted by D-Cal. Let's get it.
So what I want to talk about right now is people who drain you. People who just drain your soul. Have you ever been around somebody who, no matter what type of energy you give them, they are just, damn. It's like no matter how hard you try, they just, every effort you give them, no matter what angle you take, no matter what approach you have, they always have something to say. And you try to be the best you can, and you try to be as supportive as you can, and you try your bestest to just keep calm. But sometimes they just, I don't know. They just get the best of you, right? We've all been through it. We all know somebody. Hell, we're probably dating somebody. We're probably married to somebody that, related to somebody that fits that bill. But we're dealing with it. You have to ask yourself, man, is it worth it? Is this individual worth it? Are they worth the effort? Are they worth the time? Some cases, yes. Many cases, no. But you have to evaluate which is which. And it's always going to be a case by case, because you can take 2 individuals who have similar situations that they're going through, and one person just needs a little bit of empathy. The other person just needs to be handed a pair of scissors so they can cut the cord themselves and be free and let you go. So you have to kind of determine if, and it's a fine line between, do I go a little bit harder, or is this enough for me? And you got to be cautious about yourself too, because are you the kind of person that tends to, no matter what decision you make, man, you're always going to wish you made the other one. That's crucial. That's very, very important to know yourself, if that's something that it's going to haunt you down the line, lack of better terms. I've grown to be the kind of person when it comes to draining individuals, man. I have a filter that I developed over time that just eventually just weighs you out. Like, I kind of just even learned to physically distance myself, because the energy that you give can suck the energy from my positive vibe that I got going on, right? Because it seems negative energy is 2 times as powerful as positive energy. Have you noticed it takes you twice as long to go from a bad mood to a good mood, but it takes you half the time to go from a good mood to a bad mood? It's wild how that works, right? So you have to just know when is when, and develop your own method of doing it. And I will say this too: we live in a world where I'm right, you're wrong, and everyone has that mindset. So you have to learn to accept other perspectives. What I used to tell people, there's more than one way to get to an intersection. And people kind of look at me funny, like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if you look at an intersection, there's 4 ways, right? Most intersections have 4 ways. Well, if you pay attention, I may not go the way that you expected me to go. I might not be going the way that you think I should go. I might not be going the way to hell that you probably went. But am I heading in the same direction? Okay, well, I took this path for a reason. I took this path because it may have had debris. I took this path because it might have had a roadblock. It might have had construction. It might have had, a longer delay of traffic. This road over here might have given me a shorter route. 1 minute is 1 minute. Ask anybody who's ever delivered something, or ask anybody who was late for work, right? 1 minute is huge. So sometimes when you're approaching somebody and they have a different method than yours, it doesn't mean their method doesn't work. It just means you guys had 2 different experiences and you're sharing what worked for you individually. So keep in mind, because I'm the kind of person that if you told me something that I never experienced and I'm like, I wouldn't agree with that at that moment, I'm still going to pay attention to you, because somewhere down in my past, what worked for me may not be working for me at that moment in time. But then I remember what it was that you suggested, what it was that you said, what it was that you did. And I would apply that lesson to my situation. And by golly gee willikers, it worked. Okay, so there's more than one way to get to an intersection. Okay, perfect. So when it comes to draining people, man, people who just drain your energy, you got to know how to deal with them, as much as learn how to just distance yourself, if not dispose of them. Because misery loves company, and there's nothing better to leave misery alone. But the problem is misery doesn't want to be alone. So you got to make sure that you understand that when it comes to it. And some people just don't want to be saved. Some people don't want solutions to their problem. They don't. Because if you take away everything it is that they complain about, then they'll have nothing to complain about, and they'll complain about that. So again, you got to kind of evaluate yourself on, is this person worth it? Are these people worth it? Is this worth my time? Is this getting me closer to the goal, or is this delaying my goal? All those things you have to ask yourself, possibly internally, and then you'll come up with a better solution of what you need to do for that. So that's my suggestion when it comes to people who are just taking energy from you, man, and you just feel like, fuck, you're not abandoning them either. Understand something, because your peace of mind is just as valuable as helping somebody else. But you can't help someone out of misery if they make you miserable. That doesn't work that way. So understand that. You can't get someone out of misery if they are also too making you miserable. So I just want to share that with you guys. So here's what I kind of want to talk about really right now. Is what's going on with the economy, because a lot of people may not be knowing how to view it, see it, approach it. So I kind of want to talk about the elephant in the room. I love that. I don't care what y'all say. I love that. The elephant in the room, the elephant noise, elephant sound, so it lets you know what's coming. Gas prices. Fook. Gas prices. This is just what the shit. Listen, my conspiracy brain says this is the money that the government is getting back from the stimulus money, from the COVID loss of profits, from all this other fun stuff. Conspiracy theorist part of me also says that this is just them getting us ready to do a whole new shift of what the economy's like. Someone made it a good point that, they're making it very hard for a single income household to survive. Probably because they don't want that anymore. That day is dead, dog. That day is done. So they're probably getting everyone set up to have multiple people. There was a rumor that people were, not getting married anymore. And there was word that people were trying to just not co-parent. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it was just people really were just trying to be independent on their own and do it. So, like I said, you had rumor of people not trying to get married anymore, and now you have this situation where people allegedly back a few years ago, a generation really wasn't into having children. They weren't having any kids. So I don't know what data that the government has access to that we don't. And now you have the situation where, women are not allowed to do whatever the hell they want to do with their bodies when it comes to abortion. So, it's kind of just interesting how life, life starts at a heartbeat until that heartbeat is born. Then that heartbeat has to be taken care of on their own when they're 18 years old, and then they're incarcerated and no one gives a fuck about them at that point, or they're adopted, or, that's a different podcast episode. I'm not going to go on that tangent, but there's so many people now who are being forced to live under one roof. And you have a lot of people, this is what I was doing Uber. I would do a lot of rides over there by Facebook. And there was a lot of people who were given internship to live in Palo Alto, Redwood City area, who were given jobs, who were given salaries. And there was a certain area that's not too far from the campus of Facebook. One of my passengers at that time was telling me that Zuckerberg, again, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what the person told me, that Zuckerberg had bought up this lot of land and was building homes that he would own. And so the perk was, okay, if you live over in this country and you're working for Facebook remotely, but you want to come over to the Bay Area, what we'll do is we'll give you housing for X amount of time and a salary worth this much. So, within the salary, you had to compensate your Uber transportation. You compensated your salary for rent, for food. It was kind of a guesstimate, and people provided there. To stimulate the economy, you have, instead of, estimate of 100 people going to 7-Eleven throughout the day, you now have 300 people going to that 7-Eleven a day, which is now costing that 7-Eleven, in this example, more business, which is requiring them to get more product, which is requiring people to sit back and say, capitalism, right? So everyone was kind of taking advantage of that. So now we're in a situation, because of COVID, so on and so forth, you have all these people that are here that can't have access to work. Again, this is just a theory. This is not me saying this is what it is. I got a Venn diagram connecting it. It's a theory from conversation that is also hurting the economy because there's more mouths than there are food. So it's like, damn, we have to raise the prices over here to compensate for the inflation over here, to compensate for the product of here because the losses over here. It's such a interesting look at it. Like, you may not agree with that. Again, this is from a conversation I had with somebody, and kind of looking back, I'm like, damn, you brought all these people here, and all of a sudden now everything kind of fell by the wayside. You gave money to people to compensate for lack of income. Well, you think the government's going to just let you have that money back, have that money for free? Which is weird because it is your money to begin with. You pay taxes. But they're trying to recoup that money back. Okay? Regardless of what side you're on. They're trying to recoup that money back. And so I feel the more and more this goes, the more and more it kind of exposes that how the system, is working. And I want to talk about how gas prices are going up with inflation, but we are in now what's called, experts call it a bull market. So you have bull market and you have a bear market. So we're in a bear market, not a bull market. I misspoke. We're in a bear market right now. And so anyone who speaks, economics, you understand bear and bull. So a bear hibernates, right? A bear doesn't do anything. That's kind of how one expert explains it. But I try to tell people like this. How you know a bear in a bull market is really simple. When you see a bear, your first reaction is to run, right? You run from the bear. So when a bear market is happening, people are running from, they're steering away, they're pulling out, they're less investing, they're not having any faith in the market. So things tend to drop. Experts say it's when it's a 20% drop in the Dow and the stock and stuff like that. The S&P 500, stuff like that. That's quickly what they say. But to keep it simple, bear market you run from. You hold your money. You don't let it go to anything because you have no faith in it. A bull charges forward. A bull charges in. You just run over anything to get to whatever it is that you're getting to, that's in your way, that you're looking at. So you could also look at it as a bear would be a well, I can't really say buyer's market, seller's market, but if you had to do it in real estate terms, I guess from a perspective of a buyer, a bear would make it the seller's market because the housing are dictating what the prices are going for. And a lot of people kind of steer away from that because the prices tend to be high. And then if you look at it from a real estate aspect of it, a bull market would be more of a buyer's market because you're charging in to buy the property because you call the shots. You are the one who's taking control of the pricing because it's what you like. And you kind of set the bid on that. That's, if you look at it from that perspective to relate it to bear versus bull market. So the economy is trying to make up for everything because they see the market that they're in. People are lightweight starting to panic. They do believe there's going to be a change in it. They just don't know when, generally speaking. The Federal Reserve is also having a conversation of raising the rate of 0.75%, 0.75%. So those who don't really know much about economics per se, you have the federal index. You guys can probably just research this yourself, but there's a prime rate that the market kind of bases off of, and they're kind of going to adjust that to aid for the inflation and increases, which it's a whole bunch of stuff involved with it. And so I remember a lot of this from real estate when I was in the real estate market. So I would read up on it. Because we're just interested in how it all operated. So you guys may see some loosening on pricing and certain things, but it's also difficult because of the pricing that's going on here in California is taking a hit on everything else everywhere. So you have Farmer John just closed one of his larger markets back east. I think it was in Vermont, and it was a fairly large plant. And the reason being because the increased prices here in California to do business in California. And you have a lot of people who are leaving California because of the price increase. But that's kind of what's going on with that. It's money management. I say to compensate for that, and again, it's easier said than done, folks. I know this. But to compensate as much as you can, have a certain amount that you take out of each paycheck that you set aside. If you can't even do that, what you can do is, like, if you go shopping, if you happen to use cash, which I don't know how many of you guys still use cash, but if you happen to use cash and you pay for something, whatever that change is, I don't care what the dollar amount is, whatever that change from that transaction, put that change in a jar or in a cash box or something of that nature. And that's your kind of your reserve, if you will. I think one of the biggest issues in school that we're not taught in economics is pay yourself first and then pay everybody. Because if you really pay attention when you get your paycheck, the last person paid is you, right? And I think one of the biggest issues that we're having in this bear market is there's so many people who don't understand how economics works. They just understand work at a job, pay your bills, come home, and that's it. And everyone is so worn the fuck out. You don't feel like learning or doing anything that's outside of the norm. And Lord knows, I get it. But if you continue to do the same thing, you'll continue to get the same result, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So I feel that if you were to do something different, like even if it's your loose change, even if your paper bill money you got to hold on to because of whatever, but if you at least take the loose change that you got and put that in a jar, that's something. And what I used to tell people when I was running my fragrance business is when you save the money like that, get like a mayonnaise jar, right? And you fill it up. And what happens is the moment you see that jar begins to get full, psychologically, you start spending that money. Because you're like, oh, I have money now. I have excess money now. So even if you don't mean to do it, you start going online and looking for ish to buy. So what I would suggest for people to have done was you fill it up with your change and your ones and your fives. Once it gets full, you take that money and you go to a bank. And what you do with this bank is you consolidate that money. Meaning, I want to take this $200 that's in here full of ones and fives and change, give it to me in 20s. And they'll take that money, they'll count it out, and they'll go ahead and give you 10 $20 bills. You take that 10 $20 bills you just got, and you put it back in the jar. Now, what did you do? You took out 200 to put back 200. No, that's not what you did. Psychologically, that's not what you did. That's not what the goal is. That's what you're trying to do. Psychologically, that jar is now empty. That jar is now empty again. So what you have done was made your brain believe you have to start refilling this jar again. So that you go back to put your ones and your fives and you lose change. And then it piles back up. And you rinse and repeat. You take that same jar back in the bank and say, I want to reconsolidate this again. And you'll still have your first 10 20s. And then you have another 10 20s. Right? So now you got 20 20s in this jar. Right? And you go home and do that same process again. until that jar fills up with 20s. Then what you can do is turn around and say, I need this in 50s, or I need this in hundreds. I understand how difficult it may sound, but I'm telling you right now from experience, it's difficult for people who have never attempted it. And it takes, as Denzel Washington once said, discipline and consistency in order for you to be able to achieve these goals. Okay? You have to be able to do that, right? Once you fill that up with the 50s and the hundreds and so on and so forth, so guess what? Now you have a nest egg. That's one way, so that when the bear market becomes a bull market, you now have money to invest in something. It's a way of investing your funds on your own without any type of assistance with interest rates. Your interest rate is the change you continue to pound up in your jar. What I would do is that jar, if you take this idea, or if this has spawned off another idea for you, good, made you think. But what I would do is take that jar and I would wrap it with something so you cannot see it inside the jar until it gets to a certain part of the top of the jar. That's when you know the jar is getting full. Because if you're watching the jar and you're looking at the jar, you're going to be tempted to buy something that you don't need, but you're going to talk yourself into, I need to get this. You do not need to get that bag of chips. You want that bag of chips. You don't need that bag of chips. You don't need that money for gas. You have gas money. This money you want to act at if you cannot touch it until it reaches a certain level. That's the discipline of it. And remember, folks, it takes 3 weeks to create a habit. It takes 3 weeks to break one. So you're looking at 21 days-ish before this becomes something you don't even really worry about. The first week is going to be the hardest. The second week is going to be the most annoying. The third week, you're not even going to think about it. By week 4 and 5, it's just habit. You know you ain't touching this. And that's just how the world works, right? How your world works. It's like I said, if you fill that jar up with like tape or something dark around it, like a cover, to where the top quarter or the top third of the, not even the top third, but like the top quarter, the top fifth of the jar, you can see. Everything else you cannot. You now put yourself in a good situation to where you're kind of hiding the money from yourself in plain sight. And you're disciplining yourself not to touch the money while it's in plain sight. The trick is with credit cards and debit cards, because you don't see the money and you have a memory of your balance, it's easier to swipe, put in your PIN code, than it is to reach in a jar and take cash. Because once you take that cash, you kind of think about, wow, this is depleting. I'm physically watching this deplete. I'm watching this go down. I'm physically seeing myself remove this money, which is making it less than what it was before I took out. Never mind, I don't need it. But with the card, you don't see your balance. You don't see the number. And trust me, depending on the time of day, depending on the bank, depending on if it was a holiday, that transaction may not clear till 1 to 3 days later. And you may have forgot that you went to 7-Eleven. You may have forgot that you bought something at that ice cream parlor. You may have forgot you saw somebody and paid for lunch. You may have forgot that because it wasn't part of your daily norm. And because you forgot it, you might be overdrawn, or you might go someplace where you need to pay for something and the card gets declined. And now you're kind of wondering, WTF happened? You're lightweight, low-key embarrassed because you just got declined at the store. And then you realize the reason why you can't buy groceries is because you paid for lunch at that restaurant because you want to be a little, you want to feel good about yourself and your friend, and you want to treat yourself. Cool. Now you got to treat yourself to start to some top ramen because you now can't buy groceries. So it's just one of those things that I have done personally. One of my problems is following my own advice. I know somebody's going to listen to this shit and they're going to probably start laughing. They're going to roll their eyes and they made a sarcastic remark. I acknowledge that. One of my problems is, and I do need to address this, which is why I'm putting it on my podcast. I'll know the solution to one of my problems, and for whatever reason, I Mr. Get back to it later. Because I know it's there. It's a commitment that I have to do for myself. I have a cash box. And in my cash box, that's where I would put my jar. But how everything is going right now, it's challenging because of my money I'm trying to put towards promoting everything. And that's kind of where my additional money goes, is promoting my business. Doesn't give me an excuse. What it does, it now puts me on a plan to, okay, well, I have to adjust for my situation. Because Lord knows, I grew up in a family where it was do as I say, not as I do. So I'm not going to sit up here on my podcast and tell you to do something and I'm not doing it my damn self. So I just put myself on blast. So now I have to hold myself accountable to doing that myself. So next time I get on my podcast, come Friday at 3:30, you guys will know how that status goes. And I have no reason to lie. Like I said, I just busted myself out. So if I have not done that, then you will know. If I have done that, you will know. Because, I think it is best that you lead by example, right? I don't need to know what's in your pockets. I don't need to know what's in your wallet. I don't care how much amount you save. But as long as you do, I feel as long as you make that happen, it's only going to benefit you, even if you decide to lie, and say, yeah, I did it. Okay, well, you're lying to yourself. You're not lying to me because it's not my situation. But it's one of those things where if you're able to, hold that discipline. Like I said, the first week is going to be super difficult. Second week is going to be super annoying. But by weeks 3, 4, and 5, it's going to be just nothing, right? Even if you guys at each week, you got to take out $20. Just something to put in there to set aside, because you never know when an unexpected bill that is renewing something comes up that you forgot about, has to get paid off, and now you don't have enough money for the gas tank. And the way gas prices are going, $20 will at least get you 3 stoplights. Maybe that's as far as you needed to go that day. Who knows? But anyway, man, that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. I feel that what's going on, one of the biggest problems is, as a people, we're being ignorant. Ignorance for is lack of knowledge of. And I think with a little bit, I can educate as many people with what's going on, Hopefully it would encourage you to do a little bit more research on your own. It would encourage you to think outside the box and to realize, again, there's more than one way to get to an intersection. So I hope everyone here is listening to the podcast. Man, I do appreciate the support. I do appreciate the love. I do appreciate everything. I appreciate the downloads. I appreciate all that fun stuff that you guys are offering. I appreciate you sitting through this podcast, whether you're watching it on the YouTube channel, the GNS Inc. YouTube station. Man, just thank you very much. I'm getting a little more comfortable and a little bit more organized and a little bit more dialed in, and I feel like it's only going to get a little bit better. Now that you guys kind of, have an idea of what this is going to be like moving forward. Like I said, I believe this is episode 11, so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. I really would appreciate if you guys, follow the social media on the Twitter account or the Instagram account at the E.I.T.H.R, TheEITHR. Man, even on the personal page, if you know me personally on the Facebook, just send me a message, send me a post, send me a comment, send me something, send me a meme, send me a GIF. Letting me know, what you thought about the podcast. Feedback is always good. But I also do know that, some people would rather watch you than support you. And that's not saying you guys who are supporting, just know it would it'll make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. It'll make me feel all nice and neat to know what some of your feedback is. Podcasts and hell, man, if the podcast help you guys out, in any way, if it's made you think something differently than you normally would have, if the podcast helped you see things from a different perspective, if it's helped you see your perspective a little more clearer. If you was like, no, D, you just a dumbass. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You suck. Okay, cool. I don't got to read your message, but at least thank you for responding. Simple as that. But, that's pretty much it. So, like I said, we're sitting here in the GNS studios here in Sacramento, California. And got to give a shout out to Candace for everything that she's doing over there, her end. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Farrell and the Farrell Development Group. Man, appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, my guy. Known him since I was 19. Damn. You say it like that. To everybody else, man, just mad love. Appreciate it. We'll be back Friday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, for everything that we got going on. And then, you guys have a blessed week, man. Stay up. I hope everything goes well. Matter of fact, I hope your week's end better than your week has started. And, man, I can't wait to get into some more gangster shit with y'all. All right, y'all. We out. Bye.
Hello, my name is Candace Romero, and it has been my absolute privilege and honor to be teaching people about doTERRA's essential oils for the last 9 years and helping people live their most vibrant life. If you'd like to learn more about my natural solutions, please feel free to contact me on Facebook at Bay Area Terra Tribe Essential Oils and Natural Solutions, or check out my website, my.doterra.com/Romero. That's my.doterra.com/ROMERO. Thank you.
State ascoltando il podcast E.I.T.H.R con D.Cal.